All good railway companies make special edition wagons and locomotives for those who are regular members of one of their various clubs to purchase. In this part of my Mega Marklin review, we're going to be having a look at the special edition wagons that I own and some of the backstories behind them. Now, as you've already seen in previous parts of the reviews, I have two of the special 1FC Marklin, now called the Marklin Kids Club, locomotives. And so feel free to have a look at those reviews to hear the difficulties I had in acquiring those. Now, the wagons are unfortunately the same story. But first, let's get on to the boxes, because as we know, if they're special edition, they have different boxes. Right? Now, for one of the wagons, you can see we've got a very stock standard Marklin box. We've got the design box for a container wagon with a plastic insert, the normal labels and warnings, and then on the side is the only indication that we have a special carriage or wagon on the inside. The same applies for both of the two Marklin Magazin wagons. This one's from Germany, hence the German writing and the price tag in euros. But you've got your typical Marklin packaging, and only on the side do we realise that these are in fact a different kind of train, identified here by the Marklin Magazin logo. This carriage, on the other hand, has a completely different box design, and this is because, as you can see, there's a Sylvester on the front. And we open it up, and that's because he's contained in here, in the box. Now, this is a kind of strange box design, because unlike in the later wagons, which was one of my previous reviews, there's all this space here which is used for absolutely nothing. And you would kind of think that maybe with this wagon there would be a cardboard cutout or instructions or something in here. But there isn't. And so this is a strange kind of box design. It seems like a bit of a waste of packaging for something on the inside, which, as I'll explain later in the review, isn't really that exciting. But now you've seen the boxes, let's go on to the action. So these are the Marklin Magazin wagons from 2010. Now, as you can see, they're blue boxcars. They've got printing, fictional printing on the side, and obviously the Marklin logo. It's pronounced Marklin with an all on the A, but I often say Marklin, and so do many American people. There you go, 2010. So the carriage identifies itself straight away as a special limited edition club locomotive, or wagon. Now, I ended up with two of these because I tried to order them through my local dealer, and he wasn't sure that he was going to be able to get them in Australia, because sometimes they send them, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes, a year and a half later, you get a phone call saying that they've arrived. And that's exactly what happened with this. When I went to Germany in 2011, I saw this in Germany, and I purchased it, assuming that, I wouldn't be able to get it in Australia. Sure enough, about another 8 months after I returned from Germany, this turned up, and so I purchased it as well. Because everything looks better in pairs. Now, these are fitted with your Marklin close coupling with the close coupler pockets as well. So that means when going around corners, we can see the wagons stay close together. And each pair of wagons is actually permanently coupled. Now, if I can get these apart, I can show you how this works. We've got a coupling mechanism drawbar between these, and then we've got movable diaphragm sections that allow the trucks to move around like so. So these are actually joined together, and these are the nicer style wagons. Because the Marklin Magazine is not designed for children, the locomotives and wagons that they produce are usually much more realistic. These ones you can hardly tell they're not real wagons. However, we move on to the next set of wagons. Oh, out of the way. And we start off with this. And this is just a simple red flatbed. I really like this red colour. It's a really standout, bright red colour that goes well on your railway. But you read the side and you can see that it's got the Kids Marklin Fan Club on the side, and that's when you realise that it's a fictional design. And then you find the load, And the load is this, and these are the 4 mascots of the railway club, as well as plenty of advertising on there for the club. And you can simply just place this anywhere in the car, and it's free to kind of jiggle around. Now this is one of my more preferred wagons, because, as I'll show you in a minute, the Marklin Kids Club have often gone with Looney Tunes themed locomotives and wagons of late, and that means that I couldn't get them in Australia because of the licensing issues. The same with the Thomas. And so this was a refreshing change, because not only is it slightly more realistic, because if you take this away, it's almost a normal flatbed, and even this could just be an advertising container. I think this is a bit more realistic and a much preferable model to the ones we get onto later, and I was actually able to purchase it in Australia. Last year's 2012 club locomotive was a diesel locomotive that I don't have, but because it had Looney Tunes design, I wasn't able to purchase it. Now we move on to the last one. Now there's a reason this is in the box, and it's because it's the only wagon I have that's Marklin licensed that I actually don't use on my layout. And there's a simple reason for this, because it's got a very nice wagon. Now, you kind of look at the design, and it's meant to be a goalpost, I think, like, design, as you can see by the soccer balls, and it actually has 2 holes in the side of the wagon. And I'm sorry, but there's a point where you just go, well, who designed this, because it kind of looks really lame. I mean, maybe if it had holes on the other side as well, and a different character defending goals or something, that would be okay. But since it's only got this on one side, it not only looks really asymmetrical, but really kind of cheap and nasty, which isn't usual, but I think this is just one of those wagons where they took the concept of, like, children too far, to the point where it is not a wagon that I have on my layout anymore. Another thing was, they came with this figure, which, I mean, really, it's made of, like, kind of soft plastic kind of stuff. And, I mean, it's really just like a figure, and, like, as you can see, that white part is where the paint has come off his nose because I dropped him, not because I actually used him. And it's not even, like, the same scale, and he's not really doing anything, so, I don't know, this set, which I got in Australia because they accidentally sent me a form for it, and so they managed to send it out. So, clearly they could send me these if they want to, but obviously, in the headquarters, they just so, oh, you live in Australia, you can't have the form, therefore you can't order it. This was just not quite the kind of wagon, and this is the kind of wagon that they produce quite often, which is why I'm almost glad that I don't have the opportunity to buy the wagons, because I probably would, and then probably realize that they weren't quite to my tastes. So that's the only one that I really don't like from my collection of 4 special edition wagons. So that's all for this review. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of my limited edition wagons. Please feel free to comment or post any questions you may have, and I'll see you next time for the next part of my Marklin review. That's all we've got time for. Thanks for watching. From TrainzXtreme.